Please welcome your host, Dion Taylor.
Hey guys, Dion Taylor here. So in this video, I will show you how you can ground your custom Copilot into Dataverse by adding it as a knowledge source. Now, this feature is currently still in preview, but let's go ahead and take a look to see how that works. Now, before I show you how I created that new Copilot and then added the Dataverse knowledge to it, I first want to show you what this looks like once you configured it. So let's go ahead and ask Copilot a couple of questions about some of those rows in Dataverse. The first thing that I want to know is I want to get some account details for the account that is called Fabricam Inc. And as you can see, it's now showing me phone number, location, primary contact, and then a summary with some of this information as well. And then below, we see a reference where this information is coming from, which is that Dataverse instance that I have. Okay, let's ask some additional questions. Let's see if it could do a reverse lookup. If I have an account number, can it then look at that account number and find the name of that account? And the answer to that is yes, it can actually do that. Now, as you can see here, I configured Dataverse knowledge for accounts and customer assets. So now let's ask a question about a customer asset. Now, we're getting more complicated with our questions, right? So now I'm saying, hey, show me the customer assets, including their serial numbers for this account. So I'm actually talking about that A Datum Corporation account. And it's now saying like, oh, I don't understand. I'm not getting it. So let's try that again. Let's see if we can ask the same question again and see, because sometimes it picks it up the second time. And if it doesn't, we're going to see if we can change some of those configurations in here. So again, it's really not recognizing that, right? It is triggering my conversation booster. So what I could do here is if I click here on edit data sources, I can actually say, hey, I only want you to search on those Dataverse sources that I have set up, and those can be one or multiple, right? So let's see if when I save this, if it actually can give me the answer then. So let's go ahead and do that. Ask the same question again. Let's see if it gives me the correct answer now. And it was doing it before. Now it's just erroring out. So let's go ahead and try that again. I'm going to ask it about that account with that account number, right? Which was, as we can see here, A Datum Corporation. And then I'm going to ask it again. Can you please give me the serial numbers or the customer assets with their serial numbers for that account? And look at that. Now it actually does that, right? Now I have some other information, some custom fields on those customer assets as well. And I'm going to ask about that. So for this customer asset with this one particular serial number, I'm going to see if it can actually give me the model number of that customer asset. So let's go ahead and see, and it can. And then I also have a custom field that is showing me who the manufacturer is, which is a custom table. And let's see if it could do that. And it's also showing me that information. Now, let me just pop into Dataverse so you can see that this information that Copilot just gave me was correct. So here's a view of my customer assets inside of my Dataverse or Dynamics 365 application, right? And here you can see some of those answers to the questions that we asked Copilot. So you can see my account number, 123456789, is a Datum Corporation. We can see all of the customer assets, their serial numbers, their model numbers, and their manufacturer as well. And like I said earlier, the manufacturer is actually a table. So it's also working with those custom tables if you have any of those in your Dataverse instance. So now that you saw this in action, let's take a look and see how we can configure this. So obviously you can configure this for an existing custom Copilot, but I'm just going to go ahead and create a new custom Copilot and then show you how you can add that Dataverse knowledge to it as well. So you can just go ahead and click on create, and it's going to ask you, do you want to create a new Copilot or a new Microsoft Copilot action? I want to do a new Copilot. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to give it a name. So I'm just going to call this account asset Copilot 2. And then I want to put in a description. So I'm kind of telling it, right, you're a friendly Copilot. You help users get information about accounts and their related assets as well. And then I'm giving it some instructions, right? Assist users that need any info about accounts or customer assets. And when you're showing multiple records, you want to format your response in a list format. And then if I click here on add knowledge, I'm not able to add the Dataverse knowledge from here because I first need to create my Copilot. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click that create button, and that will really start that setup process. Wow, that was really, really quick. Obviously, it's still doing some setup in the background, and you can see that because, right, my edit button is not available yet. You can also see my description and my instructions were still loading because it wasn't ready yet. Now, you can see here that by default, this where it says here, allow the AI to use its own general knowledge, that's in preview. You can enable that, but you saw when I did the demo that I actually had that disabled. So you don't have to have that enabled. Also, when we're looking at some of the settings, if I go look here into settings, generative AI, I had it set to classic. It also works if you set this to generative. So I just wanted to tell you about that a little bit as well. So you can use either of those. Then when you're ready to add the knowledge, you can either do that from here by just clicking add knowledge from here, or you can go here to knowledge and add the knowledge from here. And this is now going to allow you to add that Dataverse knowledge, which is currently in preview. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. And the first thing you will do is you are going to select the tables that you want to ground your Copilot in. So I'm going to use account, and I'm also going to use customer assets. Here we go. So I can just go ahead and that. Now, if you by mistake actually selected tables that you don't want to use, you can very quickly go to select it. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. And then you can just click on the tables that you don't need. That's how you also remove them, right? So I'm going to use account and customer assets. I'm going to click on next. This is going to show you a list of records, right, for you to review. And I can go back and forth between my selected tables to kind of see what those records look like. I can't really do anything here. So I guess this is more to confirm that you're actually selecting the correct table, right? Then you can actually put a name in here. What is this knowledge about? This is about accounts and customer assets, right? And description here. And then the synonyms and the glossary are actually going to be used to increase the data retrieval accuracy, right? So what I can do here, when you click edit, I can again go back and forth between the tables that I selected, but I can add some synonyms in here as well. So for example, if I'm saying the account number could also be an account ID, I'm going to add that. And then I can say this is the unique account identifier. And I cannot type, right? And once you do that, there's no save button. You can just go ahead and go back. You can now see that it actually stored that data for me. If I go back here and edit, right, we can see that account number, account ID, and that description here as well. Glossary, very similar. You can just go ahead and enter some terms in there, right? And then you can enter a description in there as well, which again could make your Copilot understand what you're trying to do a little bit better. Now, I did not configure any of that, right, in that agent Copilot or in that Copilot that I just created for you guys. Now, when you're ready, all you have to do is add. You can see here it says review and finish. I'm just going to give it a second here. And it is done, right? Now, the only thing I also wanted to show here after you finish this, like maybe at some point in time you want to go back, right? You want to do some updates. Maybe you want to add some tables here. So you can do that by just hovering your mouse over that knowledge, in this particular case, that Dataverse knowledge. I can click here on the little ellipse and I can click edit. From here, I can click on edit tables, again, to add tables, right? Or to remove tables from here. Then I can also add some synonyms here, again, switching back and forth between those tables. And I can add glossary terms in here as well. And then you can just go ahead and obviously save those changes if you had them. Now, I did want to make sure that when you're using the Dataverse knowledge, that the authentication of the Copilot needs to be set to authenticate with Microsoft. So let me just go ahead and go here to settings, and we're going to go to security. And when you create this Copilot from scratch, you can see here that it's already set to authenticate with Microsoft. So what I ended up doing when I was testing this, I set it to no authentication, and then my Dataverse knowledge stopped working. The same thing when I set it up to authenticate manually. So it only works if you have this set to authenticate with Microsoft. Now, having said that, the downfall to this is when I go here to channels, you'll notice that all of my other channels, except for Microsoft Teams and telephony, all of my other channels are now disabled, right? And it says it right over here, because we chose team authentication, only Teams channels is available. And when we look online here on the Microsoft.Learn website, you can see how that authentication needs to be set up, right? So we look here at Dataverse. You can see here it uses Copilot's users Microsoft Intra ID authentication. So that really means that when a specific user asks a question of the Copilot, then Copilot will only surface content for that specific user to access, right? So this needs to be a user or somebody that actually has a user record in your environment. And that also, again, kind of explains why those other channels are not available. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss another video again. Thanks for watching. Until next time.